guys, so a while ago I asked on my Facebook page if you guys have any questions and that I would make a few short videos like this to answer some of the more interesting questions, or the ones that I think are more relevant or the ones that excite me. So one that I think is very relevant for everyone and that I'm kind of excited to answer is the question, is it possible to be completely free of the fear of death? And yes, it is. Sorry. Well, I'm not, but yes, it is. It is because there's a few layers to this though. So remember, if you haven't seen this talk yet, maybe watch this talk. It's on YouTube. It's a clip about 20 minutes. It's titled "Healing the Inner Child and Awakening the Chakras," and in that I speak on how every experience that we have is filtered first through the lower energy centers. So first the fear for survival comes up, for example. The survival center will filter an experience before it even gets to like be digested or integrated at the level of, okay, what does this mean for me in relationship to my fellow human beings? Or like, how is this relatable to, or how can this help me reach deeper into unconditional love? How can I see that this experience too is universal love, etc., etc., etc. So, but the first experience that everything is filtered through, or the first level of consciousness that everything is filtered through first, before it reaches upwards, is that that root chakra, so to speak. If you want to think in terms of chakras, it's kind of an easy system. So I'm utilizing that now. So through the lowest center, then you will first get the experience of fear usually. That's why, again, if somebody scares you when they're around the corner and it's dark at night, before you can even think about it or think what it means or see unconditional love in it, your first response will be, oh! It's because the very first reaction that every experience is filtered through is the survival mechanism, that most core animalistic idea of separation that's very instinctual and genetic in a way. So while it's possible to, for example, be like scared or have that response come up, it is definitely possible to become completely free of the fear of death, meaning that if someone were to ask you right now, you know, would you be okay with dying? You would be completely okay with dying. So it doesn't mean that necessarily you're looking forward to physical pain or anything like that. Of course, nobody really prefers that per se, but even that can be accepted and filtered through those different levels and accepted and allowed to the point where it starts to feel like you're not even afraid of physical pain anymore. So this is a gradual process. You can practice it whenever the instinct for survival comes up, when you're having a painful experience. But specifically, again, to the fear of death itself, like the fear of the annihilation of the physical body or the transition, yes, you can absolutely get to a state where that no longer scares you. And I speak from personal experience because I'm not afraid of death anymore at all. So that doesn't mean, again, that doesn't mean that I'm seeking out experiences that will kill me, although sometimes I climb without ropes and I dive on a single breath, but still that is all within my realm of what I'm comfortable doing. So it's not like I'm becoming reckless or I don't care about my life, because I do care about the mission that put me here. I do care about the blueprint, the theme, the experience that I have here, and I do not feel done at this point, at this timing. And so I wouldn't say it's a personal attachment, but I do feel like an energetic connection to being here, to the point where if someone were to say, do you want to die right now, I would say no. But that's not the same as saying that I'm afraid to die, because I'm not at all afraid to die. If I were to be killed right now, that would be totally fine with me. The only loss that perhaps would be perceived, or the only like, darn it, would be the engagement that I have with my life and my theme and my mission and reaching more people and waking up this planet. So I have, in a sense, an energetic connection or attachment or passion for my life, but I'm not afraid to die at all. So what is required for this to happen? Well, first of all, you need to understand that death does not exist. It's very, very unlikely that you'll have complete utter fearlessness of death if you truly believe there is no continuation of your existence. Now then it gets kind of scary. It gets scary, why? Because higher self is letting you know that that belief is out of alignment when you're thinking that belief. That's why it feels bad when you think that. The only way you could be okay with death completely is if your life is so miserable and you really don't care at all, like you'd rather not be here, you'd rather not exist. If that's the state that you're in, then even if you believe completely that death is the very end, period, for sure, then you could be okay with it, even with that belief system. But for most people, everybody fears death when they think of death as death. But you see, you can come to such a convinced understanding and such a true seeing of life after death while you're still alive, because you start seeing that life is really simultaneous. Life beyond death is simultaneous to life within the physical. It's right here, right now. Where you go when you die is where you already are, but you're walking around also with a portion of your consciousness in this physical focus, in this physical dream. The more you understand this, the more you know this beyond a shadow of a doubt, the more you can start to relax all these fears, and these lower chakras will start to operate in a different way when they're filtering experiences that seem perhaps life-threatening or that suggest or talk about death. They will no longer scare you. Conversations about death will no longer scare you, because you're in a sense excited, because you feel that bigger portion of your being already here right now. And so you know that the only thing that will happen when the body disappears or dies or becomes unusable or you're done with your theme is that you are absorbing this portion of your consciousness back into the overall level of your consciousness, where then all of the life experience is extracted and added to the soul. So once you know this for a fact, and it is a fact, my friends, it is a fact. Once you know this for sure, 100% with your being, then you too will no longer fear death. It doesn't mean you're not very interested in staying alive right now, otherwise you wouldn't be alive to begin with, because it's all by free will. You can't die unless you want to. This also is a fact. You cannot die unless you really want to. Again, doesn't mean that you should seek out reckless experiences. But it does mean that if you do happen to die, that's not the end of it. You can still choose to continue that life experience. Sounds a bit mysterious, but I've spoken to many people who've had this experience, who've died and then not died. Parallel reality stuff. It's cool. So basically, don't be afraid. Don't be worried. This is just a physical play. This is a physical dream. You are an eternal being. You can't really die unless you really, absolutely, totally want to with all of your being. Unless it's very relevant for you, you won't die. So you don't have to be afraid of the chances of dying or making a mistake and dying, because even if that happens, you still have free choice to not yet totally die, in a sense, to continue that same theme. So don't worry about it, and know that there is life beyond death already, and it's here now. Tap into that larger portion of your being, and you will be free of the fear of death before you know it. I promise.